As you could probably imagine, not every job site is all that safe. After all, while working in an office may be pretty mundane, some workers out there have to deal with on-the-job threats that could take their life at any moment. So today, we're going to be counting down the top 10 most dangerous jobs in the world. But before we do, don't forget to like, subscribe, and smash that notifications button for the YouTube algorithm. Number 10. Flight attendants. While serving snacks and giving safety demonstrations on a plane may not seem all that dangerous, it turns out that working as a flight attendant is one of the most hazardous jobs on the planet. However, the risk has nothing to do with the plane crashing or a terrorist attack occurring on board. Rather, it has more to do with the fact that the planes travel at very high altitudes. You see, at these heights, flight attendants are constantly being exposed to ionizing radiation, meaning that their likelihood of developing cancer is much higher than the average worker. In fact, a 2018 study from the journal Environmental Health found that the rates of breast cancer were 50% higher with female flight attendants than they were with the general population, and that their rates of non-melanoma skin cancer were about 200% higher within the same demographic. As a result, the job certainly is a lot riskier than it may look. Number 9. Landscapers. Although cutting the grass or trimming a hedge isn't likely to harm you in any way, shape, or form, it turns out that landscapers have one of the most dangerous jobs out there. Yet the danger comes not from the work they do, but rather from the amount of driving they have to do between work sites. You see, landscapers typically do not work at the same spot on a daily basis, and instead move around from client to client. As a result, they are highly prone to traffic accidents. Yet, to make matters worse, these workers also often have to use power tools to get their jobs done, leading to the risk of electrocution if they are not handled properly. Consequently, across the United States, landscapers are 5 times more likely to die on the job than the average worker. Number 8. Farming. While farming is an industry that has existed in nearly every civilization across nearly every time period, it turns out that it is a lot more dangerous than you might think. This is primarily because the large machines that farmers use in their day-to-day operations can be rather hazardous. A prime example of this are the tractors that they use in their fields. This is because while they may seem safe on the surface, even the most experienced of operators can have a tractor tip over if it hits a bump in the soil. And while all new tractors come with rollover protection systems and seatbelts, many older models do not. And these old models account for about 50% of the tractors that are currently in use across the United States. Given that this makes these tractors exponentially more likely to roll over and crush a driver, it's easy to see why they can be dangerous. However, when you then further consider that a number of other pieces of farm equipment, such as corn pickers, combines, and grain bins, can also be major threats, it's clear that the job of a farmer is certainly on the dangerous side. Number 7. Welding. While welding is a trade practiced by about 111 million people worldwide, it turns out that it can be a pretty risky job. This is because not only are the actual tools used by welders pretty dangerous, but also because the fumes, radiation exposure, and asbestos that welders are exposed to on a daily basis are detrimental for their long-term health. In fact, according to Dr. Paul Blanc of the University of Southern California, prolonged work as a welder often leads to, quote, damage to the lungs, causing scarring, and damage to other internal organs, including the liver and kidneys. With this damage even leading to cancer in many instances, it's clear that this job can certainly have some serious long-term repercussions. Number 6. Firefighters. While this probably doesn't come as much of a surprise to most of you, Firefighters really do face some serious risks on the job. However, although most would assume that the actual act of fighting a fire is the riskiest task a firefighter has to contend with due to the massive flames and falling debris often involved, it turns out that the fumes let off by a fire can be even more dangerous. In particular, the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health found that said fumes have led to firefighters having more than double the chance of developing both testicular cancer and mesothelioma as a result of this exposure to these fumes. As a result, we think it's fair to say that fighting flames is a risky game when it comes to your health. Number 5, roofers. Despite the median annual wage for a roofer only being about $40,000 in the United States, it turns out that it is one of the most dangerous jobs in America, as it kills 51.5 out of every 100,000 full-time roofers per year. In particular, it is the fact that they work at heights that puts them at risk, as any slip or fall can become a deadly event. When you then further consider that the tar that roofers use to lay down tiles puts them at an increased risk of cancer, it's clear that this profession certainly isn't the safest. Number 4, astronauts. Despite being some of the most highly trained professionals on the planet, the nature of the job means that being an astronaut is far from safe. In particular, there are two aspects of the job that are especially dangerous. The first being physical space launches, and the second being radiation exposure. Now, physical space launches are a pretty obvious one. After all, anyone who's watched the Challenger tragedy knows that it takes just one small malfunction in a ship for the entire thing to burst into flames. However, what many do not realize is that astronauts also experience a lot of radiation. In fact, as put by NASA, the equivalent of 150 to 6,000 chest x-rays will be pumped into an astronaut in regards to radiation, depending on the length of the mission. As a result, even if they never are the victim of a mechanical issue for their entire career, astronauts will almost definitely have an increased risk of health problems in their later years. Number 3, construction workers. Creating a building is hard work, and it should come as no surprise that many of the factors involved in doing so can be extremely hazardous. In particular, these hazards can be divided into 3 main categories: supplies, tools, and location-based factors. Now, supply-based factors are related to the hazardous materials used in construction, and be it ingesting gypsum dust from drywall or glass shards from insulation, said supplies can all be hazardous to one's health in the long run. The same goes for tools, as prolonged labor can lead to musculoskeletal disorders as a result of heavy lifting and constant vibrations. Yet the final factor, location, is a little different, as it relates to the fact that many accidents occur due to falls from heights or due to one being crushed by materials. As a result, it should come as no surprise that at a rate of 21 fatalities per 100,000 workers per year, construction is one of the deadliest jobs in America.
Number 2, fishermen. While fishermen can be found across the world, it turns out that they have a rather risky job. That's because depending on where the fishing is taking place, the conditions of the sea can make it a lot more dangerous than you might imagine. You see, especially in areas that are particularly rough, the waves can easily cause boats to capsize, and there have been countless instances of drownings due to crew members falling overboard. As a result, with a fatality rate of 77 per 100,000 workers, it's clear that the fishing industry certainly isn't for the faint of heart.
Number 1, garbage collectors. While this final entry may be a shocker, garbage collection really is a lot more dangerous than most make it out to be. The main reason for this is because the garbage trucks themselves can often get into accidents, potentially leading to the deaths of those on board. What's more, the garbage thrown into a truck can often be a threat on its own, as chemicals and hot coals have been known to cause fires inside of trucks more frequently than you might expect. As a result, with a fatality rate of 44 workers per 100,000 per year, garbage collection really isn't all that safe. That's all we have for you today, everyone, and thank you all for watching. Let us know in the comments down below which job you were most surprised to have seen make it onto this list. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and smash that notifications button so that you never miss out on another VarietyTop video. Until next time.